You can find something for all tastes here at the Prairie Arts Festival in West Point. The Mossy Oak Street Rod and Antique Car Show will certainly rev up some people's engines. But if you're not into cars, don't worry. Some 600 vendors converge on downtown to offer antique booths, arts and crafts, a flea market, a kids' town with rides and games, and plenty of food options to satisfy anybody's appetite. But if you want to get a little exercise before you dive into all that food and fun, come down at 8 a.m. for the 5K run that takes you through some of the historic neighborhoods of West Point. And speaking of touring West Point, that's what we're going to do in this story, show you a little bit of this wonderful town in northeast Mississippi. People pack the town of West Point on Prairie Arts Festival Day. Downtown's hard to maneuver with so many participants. The Prairie Arts Festival is one of the oldest continuously held festivals in the state, but even its duration is just a speck compared to how long people had been in this part of Mississippi. Way back yonder, the Native Americans migrated here. Mound builders have left their autographs on the landscape in the form of burial and ceremonial mounds. Even the Europeans got here a long time ago. Spain first claimed this part of the New World in 1513. It was several years before they knew exactly what it was they had claimed. Hernando de Soto first explored this region for Spain many decades later, in the mid-1500s, starting in Florida and meandering over the southeast, ending up in the Mississippi River somewhere south of Memphis. Now, if all those modern towns like Memphis had been here then, we could be more sure where it was de Soto was. But they weren't, and even the Indian towns he mentions in his writings are long gone. So we speculate. Some say De Soto wintered on the banks of the Tombigbee River, just outside West Point. Could be he wintered somewhere in this part of the country. But it was in the 1800s that pioneers, mostly from North Carolina, came here and settled the vast stretches of fertile prairie land in this part of Mississippi. The town of West Point sprang up when the railroad came through, about a mile east of a place called Robertson's Crossroads. The town was called West Point because it was the westernmost point in Lowndes County at the time. In the shuffling of county lines over the years, West Point has been in 4 different counties in state history. It's now the county seat of Clay County. During the Civil War, Union soldiers coming down south were so taken with the land around West Point that after the war was over, they went back north, packed up their families and belongings, and moved back to settle here. They became dairy farmers, a lot of them, populating the prairie with more cows than were people in the state at the time. Now you're hard-pressed to find a dairy farm in the area. Times change. There's still shadows of the antebellum South here. The old home Waverly is just over the hill from the Tombigbee River. The Snow family bought Waverly in the 1960s after it sat uninhabited for 50 years, after the original owners died. And the Snows spent many of the ensuing years restoring Waverly and opening it for public tours to give folks a peek today at what the planter class homes were like in the Old South. But Waverly's way more famous today as the home of one of Mississippi's most well-known ghosts. But that's another story altogether. And the Tombigbee River? Well, things do change. It's now the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway, connecting the Gulf of Mexico at Mobile with the Ohio River system through the Tombigbee and Tennessee rivers. Not only is the waterway good for economics, but it's made lots of play places in this part of the state, too. And the town of West Point realizes its place in the spectrum of the culture of the world. Influential bluesman Howlin' Wolf was born here. He's commemorated with the marker on the Mississippi Blues Trail in downtown West Point, and a statue, too. So the town has a lot to celebrate when they get together for a festival like this. Celebrating the people who've been living here for over a millennium, celebrating a strong cultural base, celebrating a history touching all the major events of our nation, and celebrating that times do change, for the better, and celebrating that lots of nice folks who've settled here at West Point have made it a point to keep nice neighborhoods and make meaningful churches and pitch in together to create places where people can play together. Who wouldn't want to have a festival with all that going for them?